The Freeza saga, surprisingly, isn't all that long in the grand scheme of Dragon Ball. The Freeza saga ends with Season 3, and pretty much just maybe the last two, or just the last episode of Season 1, all of Season 2, and all of Season 3 contain the Freeza saga. In Season 4, it opens with the Garlic Jr. arc, which is a filler arc that was meant to buy time, because they were closing in on... They were closing in on catching up with the manga, and I've made that discussion already in the Saiyan Saga video, but I could talk about it a little bit more here. In the manga, I've already shown off Volume 5 here, which already shows their Namek Saga outfits. Bulma's little Namek Saga outfit there. It continues from Volume 5 all the way to the opening chapter of Volume 12. Because if you open this just to the first few pages, here's Goku and Freeza. And, of course, the rest of this is Future Trunks, and talking about all that other stuff with the androids. So this is going to come back for the Cell Saga review, but that's usually how these arcs get mushed together. There's very rarely a certifiable break in the arcs. The best example of a certifiable break would be at the end of Volume 16 of OG Dragon Ball into Volume 1, though I have already mentioned that in Japan this is not the case. They just shaved off the first two chapters of Volume 17, which was actually the last two chapters of Volume 16. And they added those two chapters onto Volume 16 for the US release so that they can split it up to OG Dragon Ball and DBZ. That's why Volume 1 is so small by comparison. But the other good break would be at the end of Volume 19. And we'll talk about that one when we get to the Saiyan Saga. The Cell Saga. Right now we're on the Freeza Saga. But take a look at this little artwork here. That's another cool one. Roshi on this tiny little motorcycle. That's very cool. There's another, I've already talked about that, but he's back to drawing various motorcycles, various vehicles here. Volume 7 has Freeza stuff, Volume 8 has Freeza stuff, but Volume 9 is back to showing a vehicle, which is pretty cool. And we have another one here with Volume 10. This is not a vehicle, but we get to see adult Goku in an outfit that's not his gi, riding Nimbus. So that's pretty cool. And of course we have Volume 11 that was showing the classic Super Saiyan look. I love this art. This is opening here because Volume 11 is primarily mostly Goku versus Freeza. Mostly Goku Super Saiyan versus Freeza, if I can remember here. Yep. Volume 11 opens after Goku's Kaioken times 20 Kamehameha doesn't work. So this contains the Spirit Bomb all the way up to Super Saiyan Goku fighting Freeza, and with Namek having the final few minutes towards destruction. And it's during this point in the story when the manga was very close to the anime, when the anime was very close to the manga, which is why roughly around the time when everybody started to confront Freeza, things started to drag on and on and on. However, watching it this time around, it didn't really feel like it was dragging too much. But when it did cut to other things, I started to lose interest. While they dragged the fighting on, Goku versus Freeza, the fighting stuff that got dragged on, that was fine. Some stuff was very stupid, though. Very, very stupid. Roughly around this point in the story, there is a filler episode where Gohan leaves Bulma and Piccolo at the ship to go back to find his dad. And Frieza kicks Goku into a volcano or something, and he doesn't come back out, so Gohan has to fight Frieza for half of the episode, which is very dumb, and I really don't like that episode. Other people may say, oh, it's a cool moment to give Gohan something. He actually gets to hit final form Frieza, and he actually does something, but you don't need it. It's only there to buy time. That was a pretty poor one. Another poor example, I think I brought this up at the very beginning when I was talking about filler, is there's an episode here near the end in this same portion of the story, Volume 11, and while Goku is on Namek, right when it's about to blow up, right when he has defeated Frieza, Vegeta is laughing about this, saying, oh goody, both of his enemies have been defeated, now he is the uncontested badass, right? And so Gohan gets mad at that, and they have a little fight, and then Vegeta flies off at the end. In the very next episode, Vegeta is back under the tree, where it's almost as if that filler segment never happened. It's because it did never happen, because this is a different animation studio with this opening this episode, the other animation studio with the last episode, and it's just... filler tends to not be discussed across the board with too much communication. It's almost like that fight was just there to buy a few more minutes to keep the episode a full episode length, which is how a lot of these episodes are. You could cut most of these episodes in half, and you would have enough material to cover the chapter. But then the other half of the episode's just filler, expanding things, dragging scenes on, cutting to the peanut gallery, cutting to Roshi on Earth, cutting to Chi-Chi trying to get to Gohan on the Capsule Corporation, cutting to the Dr. Brief using a communications device to communicate to Goku's spaceship so that they could talk with Bulma and Gohan on Goku's spaceship on Namek so that they can have some communication there. There's just a lot of stuff that gets dragged on in this arc that kind of get tiresome. But like I've done prior, let's take a look. I've already taken a look at this one, so we're not going to take a look at that one. But let's take a look at the Freeza arcs manga and see how many more vehicles our boy has drawn, because we love our vehicles. Let's start with Volume 6 here. First of all, we have this vehicle in the front cover. On the back cover, we get to see Goku and Chi-Chi on a motorcycle, which is very good cover, which is very fun. Nice to see that. Let's go back to the title cards, the chapter title cards at the back here. Let's see just how many vehicles we have. This one's a pretty fun one. Spot the differences. It's a nice little game here. You got a 1 and a 2 here. You get the 2 different colors. This is I believe these 2 chapter title pages were in color, obviously, so you can easily tell the differences. But here you can also tell the differences in shadings. So if you wanted to play the spot the differences, like there's this little patch here that's not over here. That's another difference there. What other differences can we spot? Can we spot any more? Yep, there's 2 different little vehicles here. There's a cone here that's not over there. There's a bunch of stuff here that you could play around with. But that's pretty nice. And then we have some more chapter title cards. Any more vehicles? No. No more vehicles. Nope. Let's check Volume 7. Pull Volume 7 out. Take a look at that one. Look on the back here, we get to see Freeza in his little toy spaceship, whatever the heck he's playing. He rides around in. We don't see too many title cards. This routine of showing so many chapter title cards is going to go away soon. Some of them are still here, not all of them, but some of them are still here. But we don't really see too much going on here. It's just Namek arc picture chapter title cards. We don't get to spend too much time looking at stuff. But here's another one, another good one here. I like this one. Goku's hanging on for dear life as Roshi's in the steering wheel with that. Well, yeah, I like that. That's a pretty one, a funny one. Let's look at the back and see some more chapters. There's not too many chapter title cards on this one here. We have Gohan with the little lizard here. And Goku comparison with his younger self. Look at how much he's grown. I like that one. It's a pretty funny one. Like this. That's a pretty... nothing else here. Let's see. Volume 9. Anything on the back? No. Alright. Okay, we're back here. We don't have too many more of these left to go, but we're going to go through them all. I want to go through them all to see if he's drawn any more vehicles, because I like to look at those. I haven't actually looked at that too deeply in the past. Now, here we go. And Vegeta in this armor, the Namek armor, I'm not gonna lie to you, I think this is his best look, to me, personally. I didn't really care for the shoulder pads and the androids arc, adding that little color there. I liked the tone of this whole outfit. It just looks a lot better to me, but I might be a minority there. I loved using this outfit in the games, though. And see, like I said, there's only 2 title cards here. Only 2 of them. Let's see if volume 11 has any. This volume is my most beat up volume. It's holding on for dear life. As you can see, literally, it is holding on for, let me see if I can find it, the part. But, yep. Literally, it is holding on for dear life. Look at that. I need to do some more spine restoration with this one. So we got to be very careful with volume 11 to see if there's anything in the back here. No, there aren't a single chapter title card. That's depressing. Okay, and finally, volume 12. Do we have anything? We have a nice little look of Goku and Super Saiyan here. That's a very nice little look there. So let's see if we have any chapter title cards. On the back here, we have Goku and Super Saiyan. Nope. No more vehicles. That sucks. Well, we got to see some of them. We got to see some of them on the cover. We're going to see a couple more in the Perfect Cell arc. Or just the Cell Saga. There's a couple of them I can remember off the top of my head just from looking at the cover pages, like volume 16. We're going to show that off when we get to Cell. Ironically, the Freeza arc covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to say 7.5 of the graphic novels out of the Saiyan Saga covers 4.5. I'd say 4 3/4. No, 4 1/4. Yeah, 4 1/4. The Saiyan Saga covers 4 1/4 novels. The Freeza arc covers 7 1/4, 7.5. That's a pretty big chunk. But the Androids arc goes all the way to volume 19. And I just showed you volume 12, and only the first few chapters of volume 12 had Freeza in it, which means half of volume 12 all the way to 19, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 is all the Androids arc. So these arcs are pretty big. They are pretty long. They do get pretty long. And in the anime, the Cell arc goes from seasons 4 to 6. So this is a pretty short anime run, all things considered, which is ironic. But that just goes to show you that if the anime is so much longer, it means they probably are going to have a lot more filler. So, strap yourselves in for that one. We will be finally talking about Garlic Jr. once we get to the Cell arc, because Volume 4 is part of the Cell arc, and Garlic Jr. is in Volume 4, so I'm not going to talk about that one today. Let's talk about some of the stuff that the Orange Bricks release specifically does differently for the Freeza Saga. As I've mentioned many times, in the Ocean dub, they dubbed the first 2 seasons of Dragon Ball. This isn't exactly true. They dubbed the entire Saiyan Saga and part of Season 2, because once you get to Goku versus Jeice and Berter of the Ginyu Force, the first episode where he fights them, that's the last episode that Funimation went back and dubbed. That was the last episode that Ocean Group dubbed, which means the very next episode after that is technically the first episode that Funimation dubbed. So you could tell a lot of the voices are different. However, interestingly, Many of the voice actors did come back to redub their lines, such as Christopher Sabat redubbing Vegeta primarily. He left Piccolo alone, but he went back to redub Vegeta primarily. Most all of his lines in the Freeza Saga seasons 2 and 3 are completely redubbed. So he's using his modern Vegeta voice in comparison. And how did I discover this? Because the last time I watched through these, I thought, wow, Chris Sabat's just really good. He was really good. Then I remembered I had to dig out a VHS tape. The old singles, the old Dragon Ball Z singles and tapes and DVDs that they released back in the day had the original dubbing on them. So when I pulled out that VHS single, the tape single of, I think the tape that I had only one single from the Frieza arc on tape, and that was Piccolo versus Second Form Frieza. And I remembered on that tape, Vegeta sounded very, very differently, and that was Christopher Sabat voicing him. He was trying to sound more like Brian Drummond in the earlier episodes, in the first few episodes that Funimation dubbed. And they were also using the Next Dimension line instead of coming back to life. So throughout all of seasons 2 and 3, they were always making this Next Dimension or come back to this dimension, even in the Funimation dub. So that was pretty interesting to listen to. So Vegeta sounds different. He sounds updated because he is. If you want to hear the original Vegeta, because that original Vegeta dubbing is not on this version. I tried going to the original US broadcast version and the Kikuchi score, and I don't remember hearing Vegeta's in his original dubbing on here. I believe if you want to hear Vegeta's original dubbing, you're going to have to get those singles, or maybe it's on the Dragon Box. Maybe, I don't know, but I doubt it's on here. What else can we talk about? Some differences. There's no insert songs. Surprisingly, I thought there would be an insert song for Goku when he finally transforms into Super Saiyan or something like that, when he fought Freeza or anything like that. No, and there were no insert songs in the Saiyan Saga either. That's very disappointing to me, because I really loved the insert songs in OG Dragon Ball. The animation really kicked up in quality. I love to bring up Tien versus Yamcha in the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, where Wolf Hurricane debuts. And the animation in that fight was really good, because it was animated to the song, and I loved that, and they don't have any insert songs. I don't think I caught a single one throughout the entirety of the Frieza arc, which is pretty disappointing. I think you should have at least a couple of them. And luckily, thankfully, they do add insert songs when DBZ Kai would come in to redub it and cut off all of the filler and fluff. They keep some filler in there, but they cut out most of it. And thankfully, for the Frieza Saga, they add 3 very good insert songs. I don't think I'll have another opportunity to bring this up, so I'm just going to bring it up here because I don't have the Kai physical releases, but I have watched them on TV or on the internet and all that other stuff. The first one that I remember, if it's the one in order, is Only a Chilling Elegy, which is probably my favorite of all of the insert songs that the Kai run has done. And Only a Chilling Elegy really has that Sephiroth one-winged angel feel about it. It has like a chorus, an opera chorus, singing, a choir, that's it, that's the word I'm looking for. It has a choir, and I don't know the words they're singing, but it's Japanese, obviously, but I think the singer is Frieza's voice actor. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do know the next one we're going to talk about, which is Cyan Blood, which plays when Vegeta is powering up to fight Frieza. They keep this in the Kai version, by the way. I want to say it's Volume 10. Let me find it. I want to say Volume 10, yes. In Volume 10, roughly around, where are we're roughly somewhere. Come on, right here. Roughly around this chapter here, which is called Vegeta's Last Chance. And also, will it be Freeza or Vegeta? In this first chapter, most of it is just everybody standing around the Vegeta saying, "Oh, I'm so powerful," yada yada yada. But there really is no power-up sequence here in this. If he just literally, he just says, "I'm a Super Saiyan," and he charges for him. In the anime, in both the Kai version and this original version, we have a very, 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 very long power-up sequence where Vegeta is just powering up and everybody is just in shock, in awe. It's building him up to be this mega awesome, super powerful thing. We're about to get this badass fight. It leads nowhere. He gets beat up immediately. But the power-up sequence is really cool. It looks really cool. And the song Cyan Blood plays during the Kai version, which I actually really like. And Vegeta's voice actor, the Japanese voice actor, sings the song. Because you know how karaoke is in Japan. It's very big. It's very popular. A lot of these voice actors can sing. Yamcha's voice actor sang Wolf Hurricane. I've mentioned that one before. So that's pretty fun. That's pretty good. And, let's see, the other one that I remember is the Ginyu Toku Sentai theme. That's technically the first one that plays. When the Ginyu Force first arrives, the Ginyu Toku Sentai theme plays, and it is as bombastic Power Rangers as you can expect it to be. It is Super Sentai parody, and they really go full ham on it. I love it. It's one of my favorite insert songs in this entire franchise, alongside Only a Chilling Elegy, Wolf Hurricane, and the Red Ribbon theme. You can look the Red Ribbon theme up if you want. Just look up Red Ribbon Army insert song on YouTube, and you're gonna find it. You'll find it pretty easily. It's a very good song, and I love the horns in it. The brass, I mean. It's got brass in there. It sounds very James Bond style, you know, and I believe that's because Toriyama is a big movie buff. He basically based a lot of the Red Ribbon Army villains off probably James Bond villains. And literally, Commander Red is a Blofeld reference. Yeah, especially in the anime, you get to see a lot of shots of Commander Red when he's sitting in his chair petting an animal, and that's a lot of Blofeld stuff going on right there, right? There are some movie references in the Freeza arc as well, such as when Krillin is imagining Freeza transforming into his third final form. For going from his third form here, this is a Xenomorph reference, obviously. And then when Freeza mentions that he could power up again, let me see if I can find his the reference. Here it is. In this, Krillin is imagining Freeza in his final form is just a more monstrous form of this with a long, snaky little tongue like that. That's another Xenomorph reference there. Obviously, the Ginyu Force is a reference to Super Sentai, which is huge in Japan. Like, huge. Like, you have no idea how huge it is. Like, we have DC and Marvel here. They have Super Sentai, and that stuff is, like, on fire. It's still on fire. What else? There's a Beauty and Beast, kind of Beauty and the Beast reference with Zarbon. Zarbon's base form is very nice to look at, and then when he transforms, it becomes a beast to Zarbon, and he's very monstrous. So that's a Beauty and the Beast reference. That's a little bit of a stretch, but it could work. There's not too much movie references here, but there are a few, and there will be a few more in the Androids arc. There's going to be a bunch more that I get to talk about there. And I don't really have to talk about Tien and Yamcha and rant about them, but they do have a good moment in the filler where they get to fight the Ginyu Force, even though it doesn't really make too much sense. Like, seriously, they just sit around at Kaio's. They barely train at all, and it's very disappointing. And then they can beat the Ginyu Force. I like that they can beat the Ginyu Force. I think they should be able to be strong enough to defeat the Ginyu Force by the time they come back to life. But I want to see the training. I want to see more than it. You get to see some of it. You get to see them try to chase Bubbles and conquer Gregory. Piccolo's already strong enough to do both of these tasks immediately, and Tien and Yamcha shouldn't be too far behind Piccolo, at least as far as you could imagine. Piccolo at his max could probably be 3,000 at the highest. Tien at his max could probably be about 2,000 at the highest. He should be able to chase Bubbles and maybe crack Gregory on the head as well. But they try to show that they're struggling, and Piccolo could do it easily, because of course, and they don't really show too much because admittedly, this isn't the anime's fault. This isn't the anime's. They're trying their best. They're trying their best to show stuff with Tien and Yamcha, but it's mostly because the manga doesn't show them doing anything either. Toriyama never had Tien learn the Kaioken or Yamcha learn the Spirit Bomb, and honestly, I think both of those techniques should have been taught to both of those characters. Tien with the Kaioken would be awesome, and Yamcha with the Spirit Bomb would be awesome, because he could combine the Spirit Bomb with his Sokidan, which is the spinning chi bullet or the Spirit Ball. So if you combine the Sokidan with the Genki Dama, which is the Japanese version of the Spirit Bomb, he can basically control the spear once he fires it. So if an enemy dodges it, he can have it turn around and hit him from behind. It would be a very cool little thing to make Yamcha stay relevant. So of course they're not gonna give it to him. But hey, I have to back up my boy when I can. I'm very sad about what's happened to Yamcha, even though he kind of was the butt monkey in the OG Dragon Ball era, even when he was relevant. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But still, it would have been cool to give them those techniques, because Goku's never going to use them. Well, he will use the Spirit Bomb one more time after Freeza. He will use it one more time. But he'll never use the Kaioken again, except in the filler. In the filler versus Pikkon, he does use the Super Kaioken. I'll let it slide because he's dead. His body can handle it. He's dead. But once Dragon Ball Super, the anime comes out, they really go ham on the Kaioken again, which is, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think the manga version, which doesn't have the Kaioken in it, is a better idea there. But there's my 2 cents on Dragon Ball Super. I'll probably have to make a Dragon Ball Super dedicated video eventually. I've got the movies, I've watched the anime here and there, but I've read the entirety of the manga. I don't own the entirety of the manga, but I've read the entirety of the manga. So I know the story for the manga, and I prefer the manga to the anime. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. I prefer the manga to the anime, but it's a mess. Super is a mess, because there's 2 different continuities. Both the manga and the anime are 2 separate continuities. Here's the biggest example. In the anime, Gohan goes out with Dispo. Gohan fights Dispo with Freeza backing him up, and yeah, Gohan and Dispo take each other out. In the manga, Gohan fights Kefla, and they're pretty evenly matched, and they both knock each other out. I prefer that, honestly, because it not only does it lowball Kefla, because I don't think the Universe 6 Saiyan should ever be anywhere near the Universe 7 Saiyans, anywhere near. There should be in different stratospheres in power. So having Ultimate Gohan be able to fight Kefla makes a lot more sense. It really does. It still makes these guys feel impressive, sure, but it also makes Gohan not feel like a wimp. So I give that one to him. I like that. Back to Freeza here. What else can I really say? It's kind of disappointing, and not as disappointing as I thought it would be when we finally get Goku versus Freeza. The first part, before Goku goes Super Saiyan, I actually really like it. There's some really good animation going on here that I definitely feel needs to be addressed. It's some really good animation. It's just not as good as Goku versus Vegeta. The Goku versus Vegeta fight, the animation is really top-notch. When Goku finally goes Kaioken times 3. You can watch that clip on YouTube. It's all over the place. The animation is really, really top tier. I don't see animation of that quality in the Goku versus Frieza fight. It's like the budget went down during this part of the story, even though Goku turning Super Saiyan should have been when they got the best animation house they had available to animate that episode. It just doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it's that high of quality. And you'll have to rewatch the Goku vs. Vegeta Kaioken times 3 sequence and then rewatch Goku Super Saiyan fighting Frieza, and you could see the differences. Although AMV's anime music videos do clip out all of the cuts and all of that stuff that keep on distracting you from Goku vs. Frieza, which does help. I do think that getting rid of all of the cuts to the peanut gallery and just keeping it as Goku vs. Frieza does make it a lot better. Because the Goku vs. Frieza moments are the best parts of this arc, part of the arc. It's just, all of the cutaways is just, no. Although there's one thing I do need to mention that I do need to make note of. One of my favorite parts is actually not the fighting at all, but when Kami has Mr. Popo gather all of the Dragon Balls, and Kaio, King Kai, is talking with Kaio telepathically about this, and they're making this major gambit. They're trying to plan on Guru coming back to life by a technicality, by bringing back all those killed by Frieza and his men. By a technicality. They need Guru to come back via a technicality. But obviously, Toriyama needs him to come back, so he will come back. But I love that they're playing this gambling game here to try to bring Guru back for this to happen. It's a very good sequence, and I don't want to take anything away from that. And when Goku butts in on the conversation to have the wish on Namek teleport everyone except Frieza and Goku, that's very good. Because Goku does have some altruistic moments here. He's very selfish as well, because he wants to fight Frieza at his best. He wants to be able to beat Frieza, because Frieza's the toughest opponent he's ever faced, finally pushing him to Super Saiyan to be able to even survive against him. So this fight is really making Goku very, 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 very happy, very excited, even though he's very angry at losing Krillin. Another bit there is that he's thinking a little bit altruistically as well, because if Goku just teleports to Earth, guess where Frieza's gonna go next? He's gonna go to Earth! He's gonna go right to Earth! So might as well get rid of him now instead of have him go to Earth and mess that planet up too. So Goku's thinking pretty smart here, and I really love the gambit between everybody here when they're talking telepathically about this stuff. It's very good. Very, very good. And of course I have to mention that the first part, the Namek arc, which is Season 2, the Vegeta is at his best. He'll never be as good as he is here ever again. I don't think he's good in the Androids arc. Even though when I was a kid I loved Vegeta in the Androids arc. I thought he was my favorite character, but hey, I was a stupid 9-year-old, you know? The 9-year-olds think giant robots are cool and giant aliens are cool, and when Godzilla fights a giant Gundam mech robot, it's the coolest thing ever made. So of course when Pacific Rim came out 10 years later, I still loved it. So I still love Vegeta in the Androids arc, even though I think he's at his worst in the Androids arc. That's a rant. Well, the Vegeta rant is coming, and the Tien praise is coming, and the Yamcha rant is coming for Perfect Cell arc. There's not too much I can really offer here. It's a very solid arc. The first half is really good, really good. Second half is really, really bloated, really bloated, really, really bloated. But they balance each other out. Really good, really poor. They come to meet in the middle for a very serviceable arc. So hey, that's all I've got for Frieza. There's not too much I can really say, other than the Orange Brick version does have more than just Chris Sabat. There's Sonny Strait, who voices Krillin, who also redubs a lot of his lines. Stephanie Dolny does not redub a lot of her lines, so Go On does sound very different once you get to the first few episodes that Funimation started to dub, compared to seasons 1 and 2, which came after they were finishing up the Buu Saga, after Stephanie Adoni mastered the voice, because she was also doing Kid Goku around the time, so she had a lot of practice using this voice. So Gohan was really on par with seasons 1 2. Once we get to the after Goku versus Burter Chase and anything for the Frieza encounter, that's probably another one of the major reasons why this doesn't feel as good to me. There's another thing I could think of that I could talk about is the dub. The Japanese version, the Japanese sub-Japanese language version, is very good from start to finish, but that's obvious. I was always going to judge these on the English dub version, because that's what I grew up on. That's the language I natively speak. So I wanted to judge it based on that. I wanted to judge it based on the voice acting talent of the Funimation team, and see how well it did, see how the translation errors changed quite a bit, and there were a lot of translation errors and changes. Vegeta says Mondo cool in one episode, which, fine, leave that in. I love Mondo cool. It's stupid. I love it. But there's a lot of stuff I really don't like, such as Freeza saying he won't transform unless somebody gives him a countdown, which is very stupid. In the Japanese version, instead of saying to Vegeta that I need you to give me a countdown, and Vegeta giving him a countdown, Frieza just says, your father never saw me transform, I killed it, blah 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 blah. And Vegeta was all like, I already surpassed my father before you killed him, and he's unimpressed. So there's that. There's a lot of dialogue changes that feel pointless. It's really pointless. There's no reason to change the dialogue like that. They make a lot of modern references, like modern day references, like how would Frieza know what half of this stuff is, half of these jokes that he's making are, a lot of Earth-based jokes and stuff like that, but it's part of the charm, I guess, of watching the Goku versus Frieza fight, is Linda Young using a lot of jokes like this, which Frieza canonically would not be privy to. Frieza wouldn't know these jokes, but it's funny for what it is. It's just kind of grating a little bit. And I think this is why people really like the new Frieza voice actor for when Kai came in. They really liked that new voice actor for Frieza, thinking that's a really good. I love Linda Young as Frieza. I really do. In the video games, Linda Young had a lot more opportunities to get better with the voice acting and all that stuff. So that's why a lot of the cutscenes in the video games are very different. And she's mastered the craft of her Frieza voice a lot better by the later video games. That's why when you get to Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and you get to hear Linda Young's Frieza, it's a lot different from how the Funimation original Frieza sounded, because this one came first. These first few episodes in seasons 2 and 3 were the first that Funimation ever did for Dragon Ball Z. That's why everything sounds so noobish, which is a term I have to use there. Noobish. It doesn't sound as refined. By Kai, all of the returning voice actors, such as Sonny Strait as Krillin, Chris Sabat as Vegeta and Piccolo and Yamcha, and Sean Schemmel as Goku, a lot of the new old voice actors and a lot of the new voice actors, they really do make the characters sound the best that they've ever sounded. So it just takes years at the craft. It does. It takes a lot of years at the craft. That's why the first 2 seasons of the Blue Brick sound so good, is because they were dubbed after they already finished the Buu Saga. So that's why they sound so good. That's why the Frieza arc doesn't sound so good, though. The second half is because these are actually the first episodes they have ever dubbed. So you have to judge it by timeline, which means things are only going to get better from here. The voices are only going to get progressively better from here. This is the worst they've sounded. This is why a lot of people had to come back and redub their lines, because that's just how it is. And before closing, I just want to make one more rant. I hate the I am the hope of the universe thing. I hate it. It's so Superman sounding. I hate it. I loved it as a kid, but hey, I was a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, 7-year-old, 9-year-old kid. I loved that stupid stuff, you know? I love the Justice League, I love Batman the Animated Series, and all of that stuff. I still do, but Goku's not Superman. He shouldn't be Superman. He shouldn't be this blind, goody two-shoes good guy that's always saying everybody needs a chance to become a good guy, like I gave you, Vegeta. And that's not why he spared Vegeta. He spared Vegeta because he was the toughest fight he ever had, and he never beat Vegeta by himself. He needed Krillin and Gohan to come in to help him out. And next time he wanted to fight Vegeta by himself and win by himself, to test himself and his skills. And he wanted Vegeta to get better too, so he can give him a better challenge. That's why he spared Vegeta. He spared Piccolo because of Kami, yes, but he spared Vegeta because he wanted to fight him again by himself. None of this superhero goody two-shoes crap. It gets kind of annoying hearing it in English. It really does, so I would often skip to the Japanese with the English subtitles to hear what he actually said. What he says to Freeza is, I am the Saiyan from Earth whose heart has been awoken by rage. I am Super Saiyan Son Goku. That's basically all he said. That's all he really needed to say. Instead of what we got here, which is, I am the hope of the universe, I have the answer to all things that come out in peace, and I to good, nightmare to you, yada yada yada. But it is what it is. 41 minutes in, that's the Freeza arc. It'll be a while until we come back for Cell. It really will, because it's, instead of 2 seasons to watch through, it's 3 seasons I have to watch through before I can come back for Cell. Unless I want to come back and just do one for the Garlic Jr. But no, I'm gonna just combine Garlic Jr. into the Cell thing. I'm just gonna put it all into Cell and just make one big Cell video instead of cutting it all up. So seasons 4 through 6 is gonna be the Cell video. That's the next Dragon Ball discussion we're gonna have. Unless I come back for movie 4, which is Lord Slug. I can always come back and talk about that. I like Lord Slug. I like it a lot. There's a big story I'm going to have for that one next time. That may be the next Dragon Ball thing, is Lord Slug. So, to bridge the gap between Frieza and Cell. But yeah, that's all I've got. That's all.